All right, listen, Eileen's here now, so we can go ahead and get started. Hi, Eileen.
Unusually early. Had to bring that up, didn't you?
Thanks for coming out tonight.
I'm my name too. Spelled the same.
All right. So, welcome to the Memphis Astronomical Society. My name's Ric Honey, and Jeremy Veldman, our normal presenter, is not able to be here tonight. He's having fun someplace. So, this is us. We are somebody because we have a QR code. And so you can get more information about us if you scan that QR code, and that'll just make you smarter. So there's several ways you can join our society and follow along in what we do. We have an email distribution list that we try to keep people updated with our current activities and what we're doing. You can sign up to subscribe to our email list, or you can sign up to join and become a member of the Memphis Astronomical Society, as long as you're at least 13 years of age and not over 113.
Rick, hey, Rick.
We don't care as long as you're paying money. I'm sorry.
Hey, Rick, I'm looking at a periodic table. Is that what you want us to look at?
Oh, the camera. I want you to look at the slides on the deck, but
Can you see the slide?
let me do this. Change the other camera. And how do I do that? Let's go.
Excuse me.
There you go. And okay. How's that? Some better? Meryl, can you hear me?
It looks good.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, I'm looking at you and Steve and Sarah and the screen.
All right, there you go. So you can join the Memphis Astronomical Society. It's $25 a year, good deal at twice the price, and it'll help support what we do. Our mission is to try to encourage interest in astronomy and science and in general, and to present that information to the public, which is what we try to do here at least once a month, either in person or on Zoom, which we will do. Actually, the next this month and next month are both in-person meetings, and then I think December is Zoom only, and then I think January and February are scheduled to be Zoom only at this point. We'll see how that goes. We have a calendar on our website, and we have events, and we have we did one Saturday night that turned out really quite astounding. We went over to Mississippi River State Park in Arkansas, just outside of Marianna, and the skies were excellent, and the crowd was excellent. We had a bunch of members show up with telescopes, and I got the best picture of the North American nebula that I've ever taken. And, so it was a lot of fun. So that was a lot of fun for everyone involved, I think. October the 26th, down here, we've got an observing scheduled at Hernando, Mississippi. I think, is it downtown? It's square or something. I don't know what the details are on that, but we need volunteers with telescopes to sign up and help participate in that. And then the Mississippi River Star Park, we won't use that rain date because we were successful last night. Then we got Village Creek, which we do twice a year, and this is the rain date for Village Creek on November 2nd, and we'll need volunteers with telescopes for that as well. This Friday night, Jeremy, myself, and Myland will be downtown at the Beale Street Landing. This is their event, not ours. So don't look on our website to see if it's been canceled. Check out the Beale Street Landing website. But we're going to take some telescopes. I'm going to take Stellina, the electronic telescope and TV screen, and there'll be some other telescopes. We'll set up there and offer astronomical views to the general public. So come down and check it out. This is a slide about the November 2nd Village Creek Star Party. We used to eat dinner at the Delta Q barbecue place before we'd go to that. I'm not sure why we quit, but they're not doing it anymore.
They sold and they close at 2 o'clock p.m.
They close at 2 o'clock on a Saturday.
2 o'clock p.m.
How good for them. Good to be able to run a business like you want to. God bless America. So, scopes needed. If you'll notice that Jeremy always has a circle on Wynn, Arkansas. I finally fixed his slide. New members. So I'd like to welcome new members that have joined this month. Ethan Dugar. I hope I'm pronouncing that even remotely close. So Avery Knowlton and Cynthia Knowlton. Daniel Henning, Dana Watson, Kelly Blumenthal, Joshua Benson, and that was it. So let's give a hand to new members of Memphis Astronomical. All right. If you join for that healthy annual dues of $25 a year, you'll get a monthly newsletter from us, published in color in a professional publication done by a professional publicist, and always an excellent read. And or if you just like looking at pictures, it's probably more of that than anything else. So a lot of our M.A.S. astrophotography buffs will have their pictures in here. It's a lot of fun. So subscribe, become a member, and get your free subscription to the Memphis Astronomical Society newsletter. The Memphis Astro Photography Focus Group is a group of people that like to play with words a lot. That's just photography, focus, get it? And we have a group called M.A.S Fits, and there's you'd have to be into astrophotography to kind of get that, but it's almost funny if you get it. FITS is actually the file format used for astrophotography in the Memphis Astronomical Society, M.A.S, and M.A.S Fits instead of Misfits is kind of how that goes. So we meet on Zoom once a month on a, what are they doing? We're doing Wednesday nights now, right? Wednesday nights?
No,
And Thursday. Okay, here it is. It said, October the 10th is the next one coming up. And join the Memphis Astronomical Society. You can become a member of the M.A.S Fits group and play in our sandbox. We have a lot of fun. We have got people that exceed a lot of professional astrophotographers' capabilities. And then we have people that take their iPhone up to their eyepiece on their telescope and click pictures, and they're welcome too. And we have had some great pictures come from some of those. It's really kind of amazing what you can do these days. So And this is where we get together and try to figure out how to make our pictures better. So we got elections coming up. We do elections in December. We will close nominations in the November meeting. We have 5 officer positions and 5 board positions. I'm not sure what the current standing is on most of these. The current president, Jeremy, intends to fill that position again if he is so elected. And we tend not to not elect somebody who's volunteered to be one of these stooges. So our secretary, is he quitting? No, he's staying. Okay. Secretary's staying, treasurer's staying, sucker. VP of programs has decided after 20 years he's fed up with it. So we got a new volunteer to take on the VP of programs. Mylan is offered to run for that position. I mean, VP of observing. I'm going to take the role of VP of programs. Freddie's tired of it, so we'll swap up there. But we have some open board positions. I'm not sure who all we've got lined up to fill them. But if you have any inkling that you want to help participate in what we do or how we do it, and that's the important thing, is how we do it. You can, if you want some input on what we're doing and how we're doing it, please put yourself up to be on the board of directors. We have 1 meeting a month. It's a Zoom meeting, happens on about the middle Friday of the month. And we basically decide what we're going to do next. And we'd love fresh blood and new input. So keep that in mind. Talk to me if you're interested. We have swag. We have cool stuff like shirts with logos on them and all kinds of stickers and coffee cups and everything else. You can find a link to this site on the Memphis Astronomical Society website. Next month, November 4th, in this very room, we will have Dr. Ryan C. Fortenberry. And I have no idea what that means, but it's bound to be fun. So he's got enough credentials here, and he's been in a cool place with radio telescopes. And that's really how you find the molecules, is with radio telescopes. So it'll be interesting to see what he's got to say. All right. Tonight is what we call a practical program, as opposed to what does Jeremy call them? Practical. I hate to use the word theoretical, but it's kind of that. But this is not about the science as much as it is the practice of some part of observing. In fact, this is probably a little bit of a stretch. This is a form of astrophotography. It's AllSky cameras, and there's several reasons to have them, and we'll get started at that in just a second. I will present the first half of the program. We'll take a short break, and then Steve will follow up. We've basically, between us, have in the last few months created a couple of AllSky camera locations. One is this one, which is at my house, and this one is at our observing site out east. So we'll talk about those in a minute. I'm going to change programs, get a sip of water, and be right back. Hi, my name is Ric Honey. I'm with the So this is my AllSky camera number 2. This is my this is This is my second rendition of an AllSky camera. I built one, God, it's got to be at least 10, maybe 15 years ago. And the reason I wanted one was to record meteors. I wanted to catch meteors that happened. I started doing video work with telescopes back in the mid to late 90s. I started my astronomy career in the early 90s and started doing astrophotography. And this was the workhorse of astrophotography in the early 90s. This was the creme de la creme of astrophotography cameras. It is absolutely a beast of mechanical wonder. It doesn't take a battery. There's nothing electronic about it. It's purely mechanical, which meant it always worked, even when it was about 17 degrees outside and you were out there trying to capture a picture that's maybe 3 or 4 hours of exposure, not 3 or 4 hours of 10-second frames. The whole game has changed so much in the years since I got started. This is where, and you didn't dare buy a roll of 36 exposure film. You would never shoot that many. You couldn't keep up. You'd buy short 12 and 24 exposure rolls. You'd take them out, shoot them. You'd shoot an hour or two, and you'd wiggle the telescope. You start over, shoot another 2 or 3 hours, and you would guide the telescope manually, right? No auto guiders. You had an eyepiece with crosshairs centered on a star and a little touchpad with 4 buttons on it, and you'd keep that star centered for hours on end until you fell asleep and bumped into the telescope again. Then you start all over. And what you'd do, you had a notepad and you'd make notes about every frame, what you were shooting, how long you were shooting it, what the conditions were outside, what the temperature was, the humidity levels, the sky conditions. And then you'd send those off, get your developed pictures back, and go, damn, they're all crap. But you had notes, and you know what not to do next time and start over. And so I'm an electrical engineer. I was really busy at that time in my career. I didn't have quite the time I really wanted to put into it. So this kind of slipped away to the side. And a friend of mine started doing occultation timing. And that's where you're looking for the moon or an asteroid to pass in front of a star. And there were people that made predictions about when this would happen. And you get out, set up a telescope, set up video equipment, and record when that star blinked out and then came back on. Now, originally, you did this with just an audio tape and a WWV radio broadcasting the WWV time signal. And it's playing in the background, and you'd be watching the star, and as soon as it blinked out, you'd say something. And as soon as it came back on, you'd say something. And there were actually exercises you went to characterize the delay between when you saw it and when it actually occurred, and that sort of thing. And that was painful. But then we started recording everything and doing it with videotape, and CCTV cameras started getting really sensitive. You could do this was just a closed circuit mono television camera, and it was extremely sensitive and was every bit of $90 or something. And it was just, you could do a lot of astro video work with it. And we also started figuring out that we could do things like take the video frames and stack them. And that's where that stuff started up. This was a similar camera, but this camera had all its controls external on a control box. I still have that camera. This is image intensifier and a video camera. these were the different things, scenarios I set up to record different events. This was the setup I used to record when the Clementine satellite was crashed into a crater on the south pole of the moon. They were going to expected a plume to come up, and if you were able to catch it, they might be able to do spectra to figure out if it had water in the water ice in those craters. Supposedly, they'd never seen sunlight. So there was a call to amateurs to go, set up and do this. I had to drive to Oklahoma because it wasn't going to happen here when it was dark enough. So I had to go to Oklahoma. I forget the reason. Anyway, we got over there, got everything set up, recorded everything. Never saw anything. Got us, well, we'll check the recordings when we get back home. We're driving back home. We get to someplace over in Arkansas. We stop to fill up with fuel, and there's on the news, about this event, this Clementine thing crashing there. So we stopped. We're watching because they pointed the Hubble Space Telescope at it too, and the Hubble didn't see anything. So I didn't feel too bad. This was my attempt to record a meteor shower, right? So I didn't have any fisheye lenses or anything like that. And I wanted to use an image intensifier so I'd get them bright enough to record. And this is a manual camera. And so I set that over. I've still got this if anybody needs a 36-inch half sphere mirror at home for something. And it was going to be great. I had it all worked out in the day. At night, so the first thing that happens is this dome dews up in a heartbeat. I mean, it just covers in dew, right? And there's a monitor. Actually, I always use, this was the thing I used to monitor everything. I was recording on tape there. And that in the vicinity, it could have been 2 blocks away, and that was enough light to flood the image intensifier, and it was just a mess. That never worked. I figured out how I was going to keep the dew off here. I was going to get one of those hand warmers and sit under it. Never tried it again. So why an AllSky camera? What I really wanted to do is start capturing meteors when they would streak across the sky. There's enough, if you get enough captures of those events, you can tell where it came from and where it likely landed. And NASA has a group that's doing that, and they use AllSky cameras, and they do a bunch of triangulation math, and they do a lot of this stuff. And I wanted to get a camera set up here that was working and, offer my images to them. They never responded. I thought that was rather rude, but anyway, what I got set up worked. It was all right. And so I wanted to capture sky events and record sky conditions in general, and to see if there are hawks. So this is a recent capture from the one out at Astro Flats. So hawk detection. So my original AllSky camera was this camera, this little guy right here, and this lens, and the optical dome. I'll show you pictures of that, and some PV plumbing, some toilet plumbing. So this is the enclosure I built for it. This is a toilet flange, and what did I do? So I cut the ring off the toilet flange. So I got a dome. I found a plastic dome online, and I cut the ring off the toilet flange to match the dome. And then let's see if I can show. So this is where the dome is glued to the top of the toilet flange. And what I did was, I don't have a better picture of this. So I painted this entire surface black. I knew that whatever I did in that dome, you don't want it reflecting light back up to the bottom side of the dome. You're going to get glare and everything else on your camera lens. So I painted it all black. And then I drilled a bunch of holes around the outside in this line, in this area between the two pipes. This will actually fit down over another piece of pipe. And the idea here was to, the camera's mounted in here. It's pointing through this hole in this toilet flange, and it's blowing warm air past, it's drawing air past the camera. And in this case, past the Raspberry Pi, and heating up this dome, which keeps the dew off of it. It recirculates through all these holes and comes back around here to this fan. I also have a big bag of desiccant down here in the bottom of this thing to keep the moisture down. This is the original one. That's me a few pounds and a few years ago. And this is up on the roof of my house and has been for years. So the new one is not this camera. And this camera fed, I had a power and composite video lines running down to a DVR in my workshop. And the DVR was cheap and difficult to operate. And you were supposed to be able to access the video over the internet, but that never worked out very good. All it took was one security protocol upgrade, and it didn't work at all. And then other things. Anyway, over the years, it just became useless. It ran, and if I heard of something happening, I could go out there and pull the disk out of it, bring it in the house, and search through the files to finally find it. Maybe. Never had the opportunity to do that. But Steve ran across a guy that was making AllSky cameras using a Raspberry Pi as the DVR, the controller, the whole shooting match. And you could use some of these ZWO inexpensive astrophotography cameras or the Raspberry Pi camera. I intended to use one of my ZWO cameras that I don't use much. I thought I'll just use it for an AllSky camera. And maybe I should get to that. Yeah, there's the camera, and here's the old one. And this thing was just too big. Actually, it would have fit in that hole in my old case, but this big USB connector out the side of it was just not gonna, it just wasn't gonna work. So I gave up on that and went to the Raspberry Pi's HD camera. Like a Raspberry Pi is a small single board computer. They're cheap. They were designed to give computers to the world. You take one of these, a monitor and a keyboard, and you're up and running with a computer. And this is the most powerful Raspberry Pi ever made, and it's $80, you know. And so you can buy the slower ones for $30, $40, you know, and attach it to your TV screen at home, and all you need is a keyboard. So that was the idea behind inventing these, and it's just hung. It's become there's an entire hobby industry built around these, and you can do a lot of stuff with them. So my selection was to use the Raspberry Pi 5, Raspberry Pi 5. It's the latest one. 8 gig is the most memory it comes with. So that's the top of the line Raspberry Pi computer. Needed a cooler to go on it. The NVMe board is essentially the solid state replacement of a hard drive. This board goes on there, and there's 2 terabytes of memory on this. In fact, the memory on this thing costs more than the 3 Raspberry Pis. So the Raspberry Pi camera is just a a circuit board camera. It actually has a mount for a lens built on the circuit board, and it has a 1/4-20 threaded mount for putting it on a tripod or something. So that was handy. Another button battery to power the real-time clock on the Raspberry Pi so it never forgets what day it was when it loses power. And then I needed a power supply, 5 volts at the unit. I have lots of 12-volt power supplies, so I ran it on 12 volts, and I needed a 12-volt to 5-volt converter. It's just 25 watts. So that gives me 5 amps at 5 volts, which is what the Raspberry Pi 5 wants to operate in its peripherals. So there's that. This is the NVMe card on it. This is the real-time clock battery. The camera connects to it by ribbon cable, and then it's going to connect to my home network by Wi-Fi. This is just a mounting plate for mounting all that equipment, and that just shows you the old camera was mounted in here with this. There's a 1/4-20 screw sticking through the side of that pipe, the lock nut on it here, and that way I could use a wrench to turn it into the camera, and then there's another nut there. Once I got the camera where I wanted it, I used a wrench and tighten that nut against it, and that locked the camera down in place. So this is the assembly with the plate, and I just drilled and tapped a 1/4-20 hole in it, so it just mounts where the old camera did. The Raspberry Pi sticks through the same hole that was there, and it's just all there. The little power supply is right there. Little double-sided tape sticks the real-time clock to the chassis, and you move on. This is what it wound up looking like. So there's the camera sticking through the hole, and again, I got the warm air from the Raspberry Pi circulating through, keep the dome cool. That's the back side of the Raspberry Pi bolted in place. The back end, I keep a cap. I got a cap, and I don't remember where I found that, but it fit that pipe perfectly. And I've got a little fan bolted to it, and that's what circulates the air through there. This is the big pipe on the outside. There's a bag of desiccant. There's the fan and the inner tube, the inner pipe right there. And you can see, just make out the holes there that air circulates back around in. This is the power cable. And then that all winds up in a configuration that looks like this. So this went up on the mast, and I looked at it for a few days, and there was lots of glare from the moon. The moon would glare in this thing really bad, and I thought, I've got to do something about that. And I thought the best thing to do would be to get that camera lens as close to the top of the dome as I could, and that way it's out of all that rest of that glare is out of the field of view of the camera. So that's when I came up with this bracket, and it kind of gets the whole thing up in here into the top of the dome. And it did. It solved most of my glare problems. So I don't have much in the way of issues there. There it is. Now it's going to come back down. I've got several issues with it I've got to resolve software wise, but my network connection sometimes gets flaky out there. So I thought, well, the best thing to do, and I hate wireless anyway. I'm a wired kind of guy. I love Ethernet. So I thought they make power over Ethernet boards. So the Raspberry Pi is just this bottom board right here. They make all kinds of what they call hats. So a board that mounts on top of a Raspberry Pi is called a hat for some reason. And so they make a PoE, power over Ethernet hat, that also has the NVMe memory support. So this one card right here adds power over Ethernet. So the Ethernet will provide power to everything. And it's got the memory. It also, the only other problem I thought it was going to have was my 12-volt fan up there. But Steve is running theirs on 5 volts, and he actually controls their fan with software on the Pi. So I'm going to a 5-volt fan controlled by the Raspberry Pi. This is a power over Ethernet power inserter. Sorry about that. So this you just plug in, and one Ethernet cable goes to the router, and this one will go to the camera. And in this box, it'll put the 47 to 57 volts on the Ethernet cable to go on up to the camera. So it'll still just be one wire going to the camera and be power and direct hardwired Ethernet connection. Yeah, the only thing I'm not sure about is my Raspberry Pi actually reached its service limit heat wise and shut down once this last summer. It'll cut out at about 180 degrees Fahrenheit, and it got there one day and shut down. If that continues to be an ongoing, but it never got that hot the rest of the summer. It did get hot enough to throttle back a few times, and you just go restart it and it'd come back up to full speed. I'm not sure if, depends on how that problem persists, but I thought about putting a Petlier thermal cooler on it, put some uh, uh, heat sink on the outside and use solid state thermal transfer system to move heat outside of the case. I want to show you what this how this works. First off, let me so this is the camera view from my house. This is live, and I'm a ham radio operator, so I don't have a clear view of the sky. I've got this line of trees here. This is my HF ham radio antenna. This is an ADS-B aircraft antenna, and this is my UHF radio antenna. In fact, well, that was in the picture where you saw the camera mounted on the side of my house. That antenna that was there is this UHF antenna. Now, what this does at the website, though, is you can get time-lapse videos, and this is how long it's been up and running. There's a few days missed for various reasons. Here's one. So during the day, I let the thing use automatic exposure so that it's in the frame, the exposures are like milliseconds, right? And it takes a frame every 30 seconds. But at night, I don't want to miss any time. I want everything that happens. So I set the exposure time for 20 seconds and take continuous 20-second exposures. It doesn't overexpose at that. It's not horribly underexposed. So 20 seconds seems to be about the right place for this particular camera. And so no matter what happens at night, I should get it. Now it's going to be a streak, but that's fine. I'll have the event. It won't be something that happens between frames. Let's see, what time is it? Okay, let's go to 3:40. Yeah. All right, you saw that. I've never figured out how to stop it on exactly that frame using this. And I went, but at home, well, I did find that frame earlier, and I meant to put it in the presentation. And it's a streak of light going across the thing, and I knew it was an airplane. And the way I know it was an airplane was it was a streak of light was there because it had its landing lights on, right? So there's a solid streak of light, but you could faintly see a little short red dashes along that line. So you knew it was an airplane. A meteor doesn't do that. And so there's that, and those go back. I've got a bunch, and some of the people that have these, I should go to his site actually. Uh, a lot of people have these up all over the country and in other countries, and they're sharing their data online. And there's a map, and maybe I can find it real quick. But you can find other people that are sharing these and how they're doing theirs. And there are some that are just really cool. There's some way up north that get the aurora borealis happening all the time. See. There's that. Let's see. I don't do the kilograms work? Yeah. So this is this is an interesting thing. This shows you basically a streak of the entire video. So you can see when it was clear and when clouds were moving across and what have you. Star trails, I'm not doing. I haven't got this set up right. And that is, yeah, that's fine. This just is information about the camera. And this is, you can see this is all on our website, on the Memphis Astronomical Society website. And, so if you go here, this is the one out at the observing site, and this one's at my house. And you just click on it, it'll take you straight to that page. That's Steve's. So I'm going to show you one more thing. All right. This is the software on the Raspberry Pi, on the this is the camera software itself. And you can go in here. This is current live view. This is its storage. So this is the, on that memory card, there are all these images. They're all, you click on this and it's going to bring up every single image, a thumbnail for every single image for 24 hours. And it takes it a few minutes to pull this up. I'm not going to wait for it. There's a video. This is the time-lapse video for each day. This is Kilogram. These are uploaded to the Memphis Astronomical Society website page. These images, though, are not. And there's all kinds of settings for this thing. This is where you tell it how to expose during the day and what you'd expose at night. This is where it's telling it 20-second exposures and basically no gap between them. Delay is 1 millisecond. This sort of thing, a lot of things to set there. It's also where you go in and files, AllSky settings, overlay editor. So this is where you go in, and this is where I added all the text and the compass rose and all the other information that shows up on that overlay. This is where you edit all that, LAN and Wi-Fi connections, system information. This is where you go to reboot the Raspberry Pi when it locks up. You stop and start the camera software. It tells you overall conditions. Right now, CPU temp's 95, which is fine. But this guy, let's see, AllSky documentation. You got a link to his site here. The guy that wrote all this also has a map. And he's got a web page that's got a map of where all these cameras are that are, and you can tell it to share your data with that map. And I have told it to share mine. So it's on there, but it's interesting. It's a lot of fun. If you're a tinkerer, they're great. And of course, they serve a purpose as well. Anybody have any questions so far? Steve's going to show you the challenges they had with setting one up out at a remote site where there's no electricity, no internet, no nothing. And we've got it showing up on our webpage now. So we'll take a short break and come back in about 10 minutes and proceed with the second half of the show.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Steve needs to, Marilyn needs to make an announcement.
Okay.
Are we ready to?
Marilyn, you're up on the screen.
Yeah. Okay. We're ready to get back. Well, just a couple. One of the roles of a treasurer is the membership as well. And I think in the process of Jeremy handing off the slides to Rick, he forgot 3 people. And if I repeat them, it's okay. But being a member is a big doggone deal to me. So we didn't announce Rena Knox, and we didn't announce Kristen Moyers. And then we have the honor of a returning member, Frank Gibbons, who is Eileen's brother-in-law that is now back in the membership role. So
Good job, Eileen.
I wanted to make sure we recognize those. So that's all I had. Membership is important to me, and I'm glad we got the new folks as well.
Thank you, Marilyn. Support us too. So thank you for bringing that up.
Behind Merrill. That looks like they're.
Can I make an announcement?
Certainly.
Observatories having an open house this Thursday night, 7:30 to 9. If you go on our Facebook page, there'll be a link where you can pre-register to get your parking pass, or you can take your chances coming through with your ID and see what happens. Weather's looking good, so we'll be there. What night was it? Thursday night.
If you haven't seen that observatory, it's quite spectacular. Are we ready, Rick?
It's all yours.
All right. So Rick talked about the technology and all that. What I want to mainly do, and I'll be about 10 or 15 minutes at the most, is talk about just recognize the people who are involved in our dark sky project for the AllSky camera, and to talk about some of the challenges that we faced in a remote area. Our team leader is actually here, Keith Horde. And he did a really good job, and he's just a handyman. He can do anything. He knows electronics, he knows software, he builds tables. He can do it all. He put me in charge of software. He is an influencer. and y'all know Freddie Diaz, right? He was part of the software too. And then Merrill Miller, who just recognized the new members, was support. Rick was support. Les Detheridge, Clay Folks, and Don Abernathy. So Rick already went over what the AllSky camera is, so we'll move on. And he dealt with the hardware. We're doing something a little bit different. Keith designs circuit boards as well. Not only a FedEx pilot, but so we're using his design, his hat, to power this thing and to turn on and off various items. And he built most of the stuff involved here. And was that?
Is that better one side, the dream team?
Yeah.
That's quite a day.
That was quite fun, wasn't it? I have a slide on that. So we got, Rick told the software, actually, Rick was wanting to know, he told you about the worldwide cameras you can link to. If you go to this URL here, there'll be a link to the cameras there. And we chose it because it's free and we don't have a lot of money at the Memphis Astronomical Society. And their support, if you ever want to build one of these things, is above and beyond the Call of Duty. These people, within 24 hours, they answer your questions. Documentation is long but excellent. And if you know Keith Horde or myself, we don't read documentation, which means we get in a lot of trouble. So phase one was quite fun. Look at that. Keith chose the hottest day of the year. And we put the camera right here in this farmland. And what we did is we dug so we could put the table on top of gravel instead of ground grass, so it'll last a little bit longer. And it was his idea to go out there on the hottest day. And I dug. We had to dig 4 holes. I dug 1. I was halfway down. And I said, I would go in the car, turn the air conditioner on. And then I come back out. And I was a trooper. I kept on working. He stayed out here, but he was farm raised. So I think he did after hole 3. Okay. Okay. So I'm going to talk about the challenges we had. It's remote. There's no power on even near this place. And you got the cell signal is weak. Good luck making cell calls. So it was. That's right. So I try to do this on the cheap with a $10 modem. We bring it out to Astro Flats, and it didn't work. So we had to go to Plan B. And our treasurer, Merrill, who's part of this program, he knew a guy who knew a guy who knew a guy, and he gave us that modem there. And Keith figured out a way to keep it waterproof. And that modem, not only did it come with the modem, but the monthly data plan. So our outlay is for Memphis Astronomical Society for this project is $0. So networking, we put Freddie in charge of that. That's what he does for a living. And you give him something that's going to be done right, and it was. So then when he was done with it, it came back to me and to Keith to build it. And here's some of the.
That's funny. I don't remember this process going nearly this fast.
Oh, 3 months.
Oh, it's this language.
So we were able to fit that camera in there. Rick had problems with his. I repurposed the camera I never used also, and so I donated that. Somebody bought that cellular antenna to boost the signal. Good for you. Thank you, Rick. Rick also gave us a battery and a solar controller and solar panels.
Kept showing up at my house.
That's right. And this is just a few build photos. It's like kindergarten, show and tell. And then here's the 3rd hottest day of the year, Keith. And the mission was to deliver the table here. And if any of you do Stellarium, this is the Stellarium view of that site. If you're ever interested, it's available. Just email info at memphisastro.org.
We have the actual, what do you call it? It's a panoramic shot.
Right.
It's the horizon.
Horizon.
The horizon photograph for that site and Hinton Park.
Right.
And
It's on the server.
you can log them into your Stellarium or all Sky Safari.
Mhm.
Those, I guess, the only 2 that I know of. Anyway.
We've done a few more. I did Keith's house.
Pull it up on your computer, have an actual rendition of what it's going to be like once you get out there.
Yes.
The non AP folks on here might not know about the MASFIT server. A lot of resources on that.
Yeah.
Even if they're not astrophoto, they can get on that server.
That's right.
So tell them, contact with us.
Yeah. So if you're interested in stuff for more information, info@memphisastro.org will
Yeah.
take care of you. And there's the dream team right there. Now, this is category 5 hurricane proof weight. This thing is not going to budge. It literally took,
In the ground.
no,
They're just sitting there.
they're just resting on top. But the,
There's enough weight there.
Keith rented a U-Haul flatbed trailer, and it took all 4 of us to get that thing on that trailer. And Rick told you about some of the features. We did have star trails at this particular. It's darker, so we have star trails, and it's been launched. This side is the our dark sky site, and this side is Rick's backyard. And one technology that came in a lot of handy, I didn't even know about this. It's called Raspberry Pi Connect. And if you install that on the Raspberry Pi from my computer anywhere in the world, I can get access to this thing and fix problems on the fly. And it's totally free. They just give it to you. Keith told me about it. They just launched it in May. And this has been, I thought I was going to have to drive back and forth to Astro Flats, which is an hour drive for me. And I've never had to do it yet because of this particular technology. That's right. Okay, so first problems. The camera was not reliably available. We're using Rick's old battery that was probably like 30 years older than you, Rick.
I would die a lot long sooner had it been that old.
Yeah, it was lead acid. So somebody donated a new battery, and so all of our problems were solved with power. And then Freddie was looking at, if you look at the pages, you see the temperature of the sensor. If you go to our website, Freddie was seeing readings around 200 degrees Fahrenheit. And he was saying, hey, Steve, you're burning up your sensor and it's going to create other problems. And I said, what could go wrong? Who cares? It's just heat. And then he said, that's what could go wrong. So we're in the middle of a cornfield, and the farmers probably wouldn't appreciate us burning down. So whenever I have problems, I'm software, he's hardware. I rip it down, I bring it to his operating table in his shed. And then, so we had to come up with a solution. So Keith would say something like, Steve, do you know anything about Pi GPIO pins? And I would say, absolutely nothing. Never touched a Pi, never programmed in a Pi. So he would say, good, go Google it on the internet's thingy. He's very eloquent when he speaks. So I Googled all this, and we came up with an interesting solution. I think this was Keith's brilliant idea. I'm at my house. This is in his garage. These are fans. So I used that Raspberry Pi Connect to log in and actually program this thing in his garage from my home. And I came up with this. And I've never programmed in Python or anything. It took me about 2 hours to figure this language out. I know how to program other languages that are more complicated than this, but now I can program in Python, which is the preference for these Raspberry Pis. So, if it's hot, Freddie says, Steve, it's too hot. I can just go here and turn it on, and it drops the temperature 10, 15 degrees fast. It does a great job. And then right now I'm having it turned on at 10 a.m. and turn it off at 7 p.m. And then Keith and I chose the second hottest day of the year. There you go. You get the theme now? And you see the sweat? And we installed this thing. So now we have no heat problems. Next problem, dew. Now that's a bad one. And we had to think this one through. Now I asked Keith if we could put these resistors here. And if you see the scale of his leg, He said we couldn't fit that in that enclosure. I thought, that's his problem, that he should do it, but your hardware, I'm software, but it didn't happen. This is the design he came up with. If you put 12 volts on these resistors, it heats things up. It's a great heater. And then he said he gave me this board to play around with before we bring it out there. This is his custom circuitry, his hat. So he's got all sorts of 12 volt power supplies. And right here I got it's called a one line sensor, one wire sensor. And this is going to tell me what's going on in the heat inside the dome. And the other wire here is a temperature humidity sensor, which is going to come in handy for this problem with the dew. So Keith asked me again, Steve, do you know anything about high temperature and humidity heat sensors? No, absolutely nothing. Go Google it on the internet thing. So this is what I did. What is that software? So I use this software I've never heard of called Thonny, and I typed all this in there in Python, and now we have the temperature of that sensor, the humidity, and using calculations we have dew point. So I have it set right now, and we'll probably experiment. If that's about 17.96, the heater's going to turn on. And hopefully that's going to solve all of our problems, because everything's about dew point if there's condensation. And that is done, and I'm going to have to give that back to you, Keith. Back to his operating table. Yeah, right. And then Keith asked me, hey, did you test this thing? I don't do ULs. This is Keith's label that we put on the product. No UL. So this is, you might burn everything down. It's your risk, but here's what I like right here. Warranty void 5 days before you get the product. Okay. And then, so I set it up in my house on a pot, because he had me freaked out that this thing might burn the house down. And I just kept it there a couple of days, and the temperature hovered around 118 degrees.
Said it could have melted.
Yeah, we're worried about some of these connectors melting off, but it's good. So that's solved, and it's going back to Keith. Now, Keith's not aware of this. Keith, you're not aware of this, but you're going to be the leader of this next project. Okay, so somebody donated a weather station, and it's a really good one. Wind, rain gauge, and all that. And I think the board approved us buying this particular box here for $200 to $300, so that it can transmit to our Raspberry Pi. Where are you going to put all this stuff? Do you need a new pole, or can you put it on the existing? There you go. So we got some thinking to do. So this is just a future project. Stay tuned. But that's it. Thank you for listening. If anybody has any questions, Rick will answer them. We were shocked by this. I set up a cron job because I learned how to do all this Python stuff. And every time this thing crashes, I have a counter. So as soon as we put the new batteries on, we've never had a crash. It's my guess is we can go at least 3 weeks of no sun, and this thing still be strong.
We don't have anything to measure how long it take to recharge. We don't have anything to measure that.
Well,
But solar panels, so it's only 45 watts. We have nothing to measure that.
but I think we got 200, 400. It's a 400 watt panel.
Yeah, if we had hooked the solar panels, I think it would run for 2 or 3 weeks still. It only draws less than the amp. It draws like
Okay.
7.
So the answer, Ann, is maybe it's not charged.
We don't have anything to measure the voltage on. For the solar panel, Right, yeah, the solar panels charging the, LIFE battery. We don't have anything to measure that yet until I find something.
Yeah.
Well,
The
then we'll
charging
know.
controller got on that is a cheap piece of junk, but at least it keeps from overcharging the battery.
Right.
So,
But we don't have any way to measure what, but like Steve said, it's never dropped voltage. Which we're looking for, too.
What do we do have something to measure?
think about
Okay. Keith and I want that information if you can find it.
eyes and amplify.
It's up in the hole. You gotta run, you gotta gain it there.
Any other questions? All right. Well, thank you for your attention.
Wi-Fi.